Hello, my amazing students. I am here with 8.5 today, which is applications of rational equations. And it is lunchtime, and I am in our own classroom making these videos. So somebody may walk in and see me doing this, but that's okay. The first word problem is if 4 pounds of coffee cost $27.80, how much would 6 pounds cost? Okay, so you're just setting up a ratio, or in this case, a proportion. And remember, if it does not matter whether we set up 4 pounds is to 27.80 as 6 pounds is to what? Or if we set up 4 pounds, 6 pounds, with the 4 pounds is the 27.80, and with the 6 pounds is the what? Notice that both equations will get me the same results when I cross multiply. If I cross multiply here, I get 4x is 6 times 27.80. If I cross multiply here, I get 4x is 6 times 27.80. So it really does not matter at all. So let's just use the first one. Since it doesn't matter, that's fine. So we're going to get 4x equals 6 times $27.80. Okay, so now if I want to simplify, first of all, I got to divide by 4, and that just gives me x, the answer that I'm looking for. So I could go ahead and reduce this to a 3 and a 2, and then just crank it out on your calculator, because this is 1.5 times 27.8, and the answer should be $41.70 when you crank that out on your little 4-banger. There is the answer. We've only got 5 problems today, and that was the first one. Pretty easy, right? The second problem says the ratio of the number of students in a fraternity who went on a spring break trip to the number of students who did not was 3-to-1. If the number of guys who took a trip was 24 more than the number of guys who did not, how many fraternity members took a trip over spring break? Okay, so I've got our information here on our little board. We got those that took a spring break trip to those who took no spring break trip were 3-to-1. Ratio was 3-to-1. But then they came along and they said, okay, 24 more took the spring break trip than did not. So if I call this x, then I can call the 24 more x plus 24. Then I can set up our proportion. The ratio is 3-to-1, and the ratio in numbers is x plus 24 over x. So I cross multiply, and I get 3x is x plus 24. When I subtract an x from both sides, I get 2x is 24, which means that x must be 12. But the question was how many men took the spring break trip. Okay, so 12 is the number that did not. Therefore, 12 times 3, or 36, will be the number that did take the spring break trip. So no spring break trip, that was 12 people. So 12 plus 24 is 36. And also you can see it is a 3-to-1 ratio. So that one was also pretty simple. Okay, so the next one we're going to do is a distance, rate, time problem. It says a boat can travel 9 miles downstream. In the same amount of time, it can travel 6 miles upstream. If the speed of the current is 3 miles per hour, what is the speed of the boat in still water? Okay, so here's my little distance, rate, time, and downstream, upstream. So I'm just going to rehearse it again. A boat can travel 9 miles downstream, so distance downstream is 9, in the same amount of time. So these times are equal. that it can travel 6 miles upstream, and the speed of the current is 3. So remember, if I'm going downstream, I'm going with the current. I'm going to be going the speed of the boat plus the speed of the current. When I'm going upstream, like a salmon swims upstream, it's going to be the speed of the boat minus the speed of the current. Remember, I told you you would always have one box unfilled. So we know that distance is rate times time. So if we solve this little equation for t, we get t is d over r. So here we do d over r is 9 over x plus 3. d over r is 6 over x minus 3. Okay, so now I'm going to go get another board here, one of these that I just used, because now we're going to have an equation. They told me that those two times were the same. So see my two times, 9 over x plus 3 and 6 over x minus 3, and the two times are the same, so I set 9 over x plus 3 equal to 6 over x minus 3. So I now have a proportion which I will cross multiply, and when I do, I get 9x minus 27 equals 6x plus 18. Okay, so now to get all my x's on one side, we'll subtract the 6x from both sides, and then I get 3x minus 27 is 18, and if I add the 27 and I add the 27, then I get 3x is 45, which means x is 15. Okay, now I always go back and make sure. Now x was the speed of the boat in still water, but let's go back and look at the problem again and say, okay, what was it they asked me? What is the speed of the boat in still water? Therefore, the x is the speed of the boat in still water, so x is 15 would be the correct answer to put down for this one. Okay, so we started here making our little chart. So this was our first chart, if you're trying to take notes here. And here was our rest of it there so that you can get that work down. And that was a distance, rate, time problem for you to look at. Okay, so the next type of problem that we're going to do is a work problem. Okay, and the work problem says, if it takes Marshall 12 hours to refinish the hardwood floor in his house, while his brother, Nellie, can do the job in 10 hours, how long would it take them to refinish the floor together? Okay, so they're working together on the job. And remember, just like distance is rate times time, work is also rate times time. So we have work is rate times time. Now, if it takes Marshall 12 hours to refinish the floor, he gets 1/12 of the floor done every hour. So his rate is 1/12 of the floor per hour. And his time is what we're trying to find. So we're just going to call it T. So rate times time is the amount of work that Marshall does. And then his brother gets 1/10 of the job done in an hour. So his rate is 1/10 times, he's working the same amount of time. We're trying to find out what that is. So they're going to start together, they're going to finish together. That time is T. And together they're trying to do just one floor refinished, one whole job. Okay, so when we add these, now this is an equation. So can I multiply through by a least common denominator? So remember, 12 is 2 times 2 times 3. And 10 is 2 times 5. So my LCD has got to have two 2's, so that's going to be 4. It's got to have a 3 and a 5. Okay, so that's going to be 12 times 5, or 60 is my least common denominator. So I'm going to multiply everything. I'm going to write a teeny tiny little 60 here because I'm out of space. Everything by 60. okay? And when I do that, I get 60 over 12 is 5t, plus 60 over 10 is 6t, is 60 times 1, which is 60. A lot of people forget to multiply both sides by the least common denominator. So we have 11t is 60, and t is 11. It's going to be 60 over 11. So that would be 5 hours would be 55 over 11. So that's going to be 5 and 5/11 hours. So 5 and 5/11 hours if they do the work together. That was a work problem. Okay, look at the way that we set that one up. And once we set it up, it was very easy to multiply through by least common denominator and find the answer. Okay, the last problem we're going to do is another airplane. We're going to have an airplane flying through. And so we've got an airplane flying at a constant speed, can fly 900 miles with the wind in the same amount of time that it can fly 600 miles against the wind. What is the speed of the plane in still air if the wind blows at 60 miles per hour? Okay, so here we've got, as I read it again, the plane can fly 900 miles with the wind, and in the same amount of time, so again, these two t's are going to be the same, as it can blow 600 miles against the wind. Okay, what is the speed of the plane? So we're going to call that x, the speed of the plane in still air if the wind blows at 60 miles per hour. So with the wind is going to be plus 60 miles per hour, and against the wind is minus 60 miles per hour. Okay, and again, we have an empty slot here for our time, and distance is rate times time. So time is d over r. D over r is 900 over x plus 60, and d over r is 600 over x minus 60. So now I'm going to take my two expressions for my time and set them equal to each other, which, let me get another board here. And so I had 900 over x plus 60 is 600 over x minus 60. So those are my two expressions set equal to each other because the problem said the same amount of time. So now I cross multiply, and I'm going to get 900x equals 9 times 6 is 54, so 900, so it's going to be minus 54000 equals, and then on the other side, 600x, and then plus 36000, okay? So now I have to get these solved. So I've got a 900x, and on the other side I got a 600x. So when I subtract the 600x, I'll get a 300x on this side. All right, so I'm going to add a 54,000 to both sides, and 4 plus 6 is going to give me a 10, and that's going to be 8, 9. So I get 90000 on the other side. First of all, let's just cancel out our zeros because we got too many of those. And then I get x is 900 divided by 3, or 300 miles an hour. And let me check the answer. The answer is the plane is going 300 miles an hour. Okay, so this was the first page where we set up our chart. If you're taking the notes. And this was the second page where we actually cross multiply when we set our 2 times equal, and we come up with our value for x. And that is the end of 8.5 and our applications of rational expressions. And this is Mrs. A, and may God bless your day.